Welcome into the Friday Night 360 AZ Preview Show. I'm Haley Stasiak with Jordan Ham. We've got another great show in store for you. We'll have Jose Garcia from AZPreps365, and from County Line Preps, we'll have Andrew Liberta, and then we'll break down that Week 2 action. But first, before we got the show started today, we had some breaking news.
Yeah, Jack Miller, quarterback over at Chaparral, he transferred from Scottsdale Christian Academy. It was deemed by the AIA he had to sit out 5 games, but he went through the appeals process. He thought that he had a hardship. Actually, while he was playing a game last year, a family friend was hit by a car and ended up dying. So part of the reason that he transferred was he was dealing with some stress from that and that sort of thing. So he actually transferred to Chaparral. They deemed him ineligible for the first half of the season. He just won his appeal, so he's coming back, just missing those first 2 games against Desert Mountain and Horizon. This is a huge get for the Firebirds. He's the #1 2020 quarterback in the 24/7 sports ranking, so this is nationally. He's going to be one of the most recruited guys, I think, in the state when it's all said and done. Florida State, Ohio State, a myriad of big-time schools are already looking at him. So you're looking at Chaparral as kind of a revamped offense, and just adding Jack Miller is just one more piece to the puzzle for that.
And they had their backup quarterback.
Yeah,
replacing him. How did he do?
Yeah, Davis Shohan, he did very well coming in. He figured out he was the starter just a couple days before their first game. Threw for 375 yards and 4 touchdowns against Desert Mountain. Against Horizon, Chaparral was really running the ball well. He ended up with 75 passing yards and a touchdown, but took care of the football. I think Chaparral feels really good about their quarterback situation right now. Whether it's Jack Miller or if something changes and they need to go to Shohan, I think they're very comfortable doing that as well.
With that, we'll bring in Jose Garcia, AZPreps365 multimedia contributor. Jose, what can you tell us about the AIA appeal process?
Well, it starts at the school level, obviously. Each schools have to communicate with each other as far as transfers. If one school declines it, then obviously that's then left up to the parents and for them to appeal that process. So that's what happened with Jack Miller's case. And I don't know how many, but there was a lot of appeals that were heard yesterday by the AIA's executive board. I know some of them are starting to come out, and I think more will be coming out tomorrow as far as what the decision was made.
We are in Week 2 of high school football. What are your impressions after these first couple weeks of play?
Well, I know defense doesn't get mentioned much, but how about giving the defensive performance by Centennial and Williams Field, which those 2 programs have a lot of points so far after playing 2 games each. And then Chandler, despite the loss, I think their defense played a great game against IMG on Saturday.
Jose, we're still early in the season, but what's a program or 2 that's really jumping out to you that people may not be talking about right now, but you're not going to want to have to deal with them come November?
Come November, there's a lot of teams right now. Obviously, I think 2 teams come to mind that they got off to 2 0-2 starts. I know Desert Edge was mentioned as probably being one of the favorites, but they played some quality teams, new coaching staff, so it might take a while for them to get it all together, but I look for them to make a run at the end. And then Marana, which is 0-2, they received a lot of hype going into this season, and I think after the first 2 losses, people are starting to maybe say, hey, maybe they're not legit. But I think those 2 teams, when it's all said and done, they'll be okay, and there'll be 2 teams to look out for toward the end of the season.
You mentioned Chandler's loss. Saguaro and Hamilton are also big schools that got losses in Week 1 as well. When was the last time that you remember 3 high-caliber teams losing in the same week, first of all? And second, do you think it will continue to be a trend for these powerhouses to continue challenging themselves against out-of-state teams?
I doubt it. I think it's they obviously, with Saguaro, they had, I think, 8 new starters on defense they introduced. Their offensive line was young. Chandler, I think, to be honest with you, after the first 2 drives, I think everybody thought that IMG was going to run away with that game, but Chandler held on. I think it's just a matter of the competition, some experience. And let's not forget with Centennial, they still have a chance, I think, when they play St. Thomas Aquinas out of Florida in September. That might be our shot for Arizona to pull off a big victory against a big nationally ranked team. So it's a very unique situation, and But I'm not counting out the Arizona teams yet against the national team.
It was announced this week that the 4A, 5A, and 6A state championships will be down at Arizona Stadium in Tucson. I know that there were a lot of logistics that went into that, but how do you think that this is going to impact those late playoff games for those three divisions?
As far as impact, it should be minimal, to be honest with you. Obviously, the traveling aspect of it might come into play, but if you look at the 5A level, there's some great Tucson teams, so they'll be playing. They might be making it there. 4A, there's some good Southern Arizona teams as well. And 6A teams, to be honest with you, I think folks are going to be maybe disappointed to making the trip down south. But once they're there, I doubt once they step on the field, they're going to be thinking, oh, man, it's bad that it's playing in Tucson. I'm pretty sure they're all going to be happy that they're playing in a state championship game. And they're going to be playing at one of the biggest venues as well in the state. So I think the traveling, when it comes to it, it's going to be very minimal.
Jose Garcia, AZPreps365 multimedia contributor. Thanks so much for joining us.
Not a problem, guys. That was a pleasure.
We'll be right back with Andrew Liberta of County Line Preps talking Southeast Valley teams. Stay with us.